Hello, my name is Micca. Today I decided to share my memories of YouTube, early memories of YouTube, when I first created my channel and what was YouTube back then. This is not gonna be a full cut version, this is gonna be uncut, and I'm not gonna edit the video, just as I say it's going to be on my channel. So hopefully I will make it a good one. So let's start as early as 2006. So back then, in my country, in Armenia, YouTube wasn't anything. It wasn't known. Nobody knew about it. So until 2007 and 8, when people started to use it to listen to music, to find some tutorials for like PC, perhaps some bootlegs and remixes, or even copyrighted musics back then existed. And to be honest, if you went to the front page, you would see most of the times the most viewed or featured videos were vlogs. So vlogging is actually a really old thing. It's not a new thing. It's one thing that they changed the genre, or Casey Neistat and everyone else is just making a bit of different types of vlogs. But before it was like I have a PC or I have a camera, I will just mount it somewhere and just look at the camera, talk to camera. It's not a new thing. People even vlogged before YouTube. So yeah, back then it was vlogging mostly, and some music, copyright music on top of like Windows Movie Maker logo, and some like PC tutorials. There wasn't much on YouTube, and it wasn't considered to be like a serious platform anyway. I remember one day when I was asking my friends if they know anything about YouTube, they were like, "What is YouTube?" And I'm like, "You can share videos, you can share videos that you created or others created just to watch them or listen." And none of them were actually interested in that back then, because nobody wanted to go to a website to listen to music, because trust me, people wanted the file, the raw file. Before, they wanted to share files via Bluetooth on their smartphones, or old phones, cell phones, and just have the files. They sometimes they didn't even bother to have the files on their computers, just because they prefer to have on their phones. And unfortunately, it was difficult to keep a lot of files, because back then, like 32 megabytes of SD card was a lot of megabytes. I remember having my first 128 megabytes SD card. It was so expensive, and I bought it for my Nokia 6230i, which was one of the best phones actually back then. So yeah, things and content was different back then. I even remember using voice recorder on my phone to record record a tune, a song, just to have it, because it was too large. The file was too large to have an MP3 format. So yeah. So what happened to YouTube? Well, if you went to YouTube back then, in 2007 or 8, that's when I actually started to use it. There were some channels that were blowing up because they were crazy. They were kind of like extraordinary back then. It was like, oh, I can totally do this, but I wouldn't do it. A lot of content was like, yeah, this is definitely crazy. This is definitely outlandish, but I'm not gonna do it because I'm not crazy. But let's watch it. So one of the channels I can remember was Fred. Fred was the first channel on YouTube to get the first 1 million subscriber count. And that was like the precedent of YouTube back then. It wasn't serious. People knew that if this guy is #1 on YouTube, what is this platform about? Of course, everything changed when they introduced the new layout, they introduced new monetization system, and machinima came on. Of course, the gaming on YouTube started to um, blow up, and of course the Vivo channels, they took over YouTube back then. Of course, but it's not all about that. There was another show called Equals 3. That was my favorite show back in 2009 or 2010. And I did not know much about the show, but I loved it, and I watched every single show. I still can remember pretty much every single episode. Back then, the format was very simple. It was actually taken from a TV show, because I remember that TV show on Russian television called SSR. If you type on the YouTube CCP or SSR in Russian, you would find the old videos, 2 by 3 aspect ratio videos, very low quality. So the idea was simple. You take 3 or more or 4 maybe videos, funny videos, and you comment them. You know, you talk about them, you comment them in a funny way, you add humor to it, and that's what Ray William Johnson on his channel did it. I don't think he ever told this on publicly, because I'm pretty sure he wasn't the one who pioneered this. I'm quite sure that format existed before him, but he was the first one probably to kind of generalize to mainstream on YouTube. So that kind of reviewing of videos. Now back then, of course, there was no copyright problems with that. You can just take anybody's video, anyone's video on any website and post it on YouTube and comment on it. Of course, you can even show full-length videos, and sometimes he was. But to be honest, in his defense, he actually was showing in small clips, like the funny part or the build-up or the end, and he left a lot of reason to actually go to the page itself, to the YouTube page or sometimes the other websites, to watch by yourself. And I have done that many times, to be honest. I remember the #1 video that I watched full time was the Boogie 2988, his character Francis. Actually, the rage on you know, on his cell phone, getting notifications of his being fat and stuff. So that was a kind of a skit which I watched, enjoyed it, really funny. I remember the German guy jumping into the ice. You know, when he says "my Ben Siskill." I remember that one. There are some good like short videos I remember watching on his show, and I was like, I'm definitely want to go watch the full one. So it was kind of like a preview, kind of advertisement of all of those videos, promotion, I would say. So you would go to the channel and watch by yourself. And then back then it was the best format available. To be honest, his channel deserves a lot of credit, and one of the things that he has done was to be the first one with 2 million subscribers. He was the first one with 2 billion views, so that's 2 billion club. He was the first and major kind of producer or channel to sign with Maker Studios, which later, of course, they had problems, and you know, you can Google about that. He was actually the first one who created a fan-funded animated web project called Your Favorite Martian, which was actually pretty funny, to be honest, and it did well. And of course they sold on iTunes as well, the music and stuff. It was really good, to be honest. It's not like you should crap on Ray for, you know, leaving YouTube just because he did, but you actually have to acknowledge what he did before. And he was really, like, he was the guy who every big guy on YouTube, every big channel was watching. And to be honest, I think a lot of people were just envying him. Back in 2011, I can recall that 2011 was, yeah, 2010. No, it was in 2011 and 12 and 13. He was the biggest channel on YouTube, so that was the position of most subscribed channels. He held the position from 2011 to 2013, so that's really good 2 years for him to be the most subscribed channel. Of course, after that, Smosh took it over, because Smosh actually won. It was the first, yeah, I think the Smosh was the first channel on YouTube to be to ever hold a position for a very long time. Of course, Fred existed, but he was the one in 1 million club, of course, but for a very small time. So after that, Smosh existed. I think 2006 was when they started, and they grew initially. And then somebody else took them over, of course, and then Ryan Higa, my favorite YouTuber, actually took over them as well. Yeah, so basically, if you look at the timeline on Wikipedia, which I'm doing now, Fred took over YouTube only in 2009 to be most subscribed on YouTube. So before that, there were other people, but he was just the only person to get 1 million first. You know, he was the person to get first. So most people, the most channels who hold their position to be #1 subscribed were 4 channels, basically: Ray, Smosh, PewDiePie, and Ryan Higa. Of course, PewDiePie is still #1 because he's doing it for many years now. Since 2014, he's the most subscribed channel, which is amazing for him. Before that, it was Ray, and of course, they shared position with Ryan Higa, which I'm actually a big fan of. Now, yeah, again, back then, in my country, a lot of people used YouTube for music, like I said, for PC tutorials, nothing serious. And what I was doing, I was making small, like videos on cars. Like I made a Need for Speed video back in 2011, I think, or 10 or 11. I cannot remember. I had so many shitty channels before my Micca channel, and then this channel, of course, but the idea is I had many small channels to begin with. I wanted to know, well, what can I do with this channel? Is this channel just for commenting and subscribing, or I'm going to upload something? And eventually it turned to be like like a channel for everything. I had a bunch of videos on my hard drive, I mean flash drive back then, and it was like clips from TV shows, Armenian TV shows, Russian TV shows. Back then, those clips were like not available on YouTube. So I was like, okay, I can just upload all of that, which is actually in a very bad quality. I even remember the format was .3GP. 3GP format is one of the worst formats you can ever use, but it was the one that was used on most of these Nokia phones, you know. And then MOV came, of course. MOV was very actually difficult to open, and then MP4 came, which we still use now. You can still make MP4 videos. So that was back then, and of course I uploaded them. The channel still exists. I'm not going to tell you the name of the channel. The channel actually exists. I can have a look if to see if what's going on. That channel at one point had, if I'm not mistaken, like 500,000 views. So yeah, I mean that's a lot. I had a Gmail account. Back then there was no Gmail account basically, so you could have used YouTube without Gmail account. And what happened is they started to force, because of course, YouTube and Google became very friendly, and they needed to put Gmail account. What happened is that I forgot to put it on my main first channel, and that channel just was lost. I have no access to it because there is no email to connect it with that channel. It was just username back then. So the channel I have, the oldest one, is now that I'm going in now. Let's see what I have on this page. It's one of the worst channels. I've changed the name so many times. And let's have a look. About. I created this channel in 2010. Oh my god. There is no country on it. There are no details. There's no email on this channel, which is really funny because I have a very weird access to it somehow. But it's created 2010 in October. So this is when actually oh wow, October 2010. Yeah, this is when I was in school here in the UK, and I decided to upload all of the crappy videos I had on my computer just to save them. And half of those videos are actually blocked. They're private videos. There are a lot of response videos I created. It's so bad that YouTube doesn't actually show deleted videos on your channel. That's kind of bad. I wish there was a way to see what deleted videos you created back then. That'll be cool. And yeah, that was pretty much it. And yeah, let's see. No, there's no way to watch the deleted videos. Okay, so of course this channel has a lot of copyright um, infringements and deleted videos and blocked videos, which is funny. Because I tried to copy small things from TV shows and try to share with friends, and I couldn't because it gets taken down, unfortunately, or blocked. So that was kind of bad because I wasn't making money off this account. And yeah, as far as I remember, I was playing Modern Warfare. So Call of Duty Modern Warfare, then Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, and Need for Speed, you know, the run, and before that, sharing that kind of stuff, videos, and that was pretty much what I had before. That was my channel. And then, of course, I thought I need to make a proper channel. And because I want to make a channel on Apple and on Jailbreak, actually. And it's very sad to know that even the creator of Jailbreak said that our community is dead. There are very few people using Jailbreak now. It was fun before because it was new thing. It was exciting. You could have, like, you can make money on Jailbreak before. You could just, you know, help people to get free games and stuff, and they will pay you well. That's exactly what I, you know, got into. I paid a lot of people to jailbreak my phone, add so many games and stuff. But now, you know, most of the games are not paid. There are some games, very good games, paid, but some of them are just like using freemium mechanic or mechanism or system. where you just buy, you just get the game and then you have to pay throughout. So that was not possible back then. I mean, there were some games. I remember Temple Run was one of the first games to do that, and there were so many hacked versions of it. So yeah, whatever. That was my idea of channels, to create Apple and jailbreak based channel in Armenian, which was not initially a thought. I decided to make it in English, and then of course a lot of channels just blew up. Of course they were better, they had more time, they dedicated more time. I had to do my studies, so my channel was like meh. It wasn't even getting any views, and I'm like, okay, what if I do it in Armenian? And unfortunately, the first like good 2 years, I had no luck with getting people watching my videos. There were like 1 or 2 comments on my videos, same people basically telling like, well, how do I do this or how do I do that? And I had no experience, nothing. I could have not helped them anyway. I was just trying to answer their questions somehow. And then it kind of, I started to make reviews. I made reviews of apps. I did some other stuff. I cannot remember. Oh yeah, of course the jailbreak stuff. A lot of themes and stuff. And I remember I took down so many videos on my channel because there were so many cases where I accidentally showed private information, including my name, address, um, uh, conversations with friends, friends' names, friends' emails, friends' phone numbers. That was horrible. I had like views and views on those videos. I'm like, I have to take them down. There's no other way. Um, this is problem. And I took down like probably 1/3 of my videos are not up there. So if you go to my channel, there are like about 200 videos. I actually have 400 or 500 videos. So even more than that. So it's about half or 2/3 are down, unfortunately. So that was, you know, the idea of how it all came out, how it came about. So of course I was also watching Ray. I loved that idea. I was like, I want to make something in Armenian, but Armenian market is very small because there are just like 3 million Armenians living in Armenia. There are like, in the estimate, about maximum I would say 15 million Armenians in the world, and I'm sure like 90% of them, they don't even care about YouTubers and Armenian content. There's so many things like problematic in speaking in Armenian and making Armenian videos, because you have to remember who is your audience, who is your target audience, and who is actually going to watch your video. Even if you have target audience, like who's actually going to take your time, take their time of their day and hour and, you know, time, and take your watch your video. And I'm like, okay, this is not worth it. You know, sometimes I'm like, I can make a video, but this is not worth it. Or I want to make a video, I can only make it for my friends, and I have to kind of like excuse my like low effort, but I want to make it. I want to put out there no effort, you know, just for my friends, just to show them where I am or what I want to show them. You know, not much judgment here going on. But now I cannot. If you go to my channel, I have already created a president, like a, not a president, but like a, how do you say that word? Not a presence, but a precedence, I guess. Some sort of like expectations. When you go to someone's channel, you expect some sort of quality. And same with any kind of big channel, large channels like PewDiePie channel. I mean, yeah, you can. Sometimes he makes really bad stuff, but sometimes he makes really good stuff. So you don't know. For example, Ryan Higa's channel, Ryan Higa's channel is really good. He always makes really good content. I think on every time he has been on YouTube, every single interval since, I guess, 2006, it is acceptable for each time. So it's like he's definitely using his he's putting his effort, he's using his money, or, you know, reinvesting in it into his project and channel to make it as good as possible. And if I'm gonna make a channel or a video badly made, like for example, this one is a really lazy video because it's like about 20 minutes, and I don't want to cut it because I'm trying to speak as fast as I can and as concise as I can, not to ramble much. But the idea is like, people expect from good channels to create or consistently create similar content. They don't want bad video and a good video, and then 10 bad videos and one good video, or like, 10 good videos, perhaps one bad video. That's fine. Sometimes you cannot cope up, or you cannot just do as better than your previous video. So sometimes I have videos, I'm like, okay, how am I going to make a better version of this? There's no way. And some of the cases I don't. I remember my unboxing of OnePlus 5 phone. It was like very easily made video, to be honest. I did not spend much time because I was very discouraged. My exam results will be soon, you know. I was very tired. I did not want to do this anyway. I'm like, I want to do this, but part of me doesn't want to do it. So it's like I'm not fully enthusiastic. I'm not fully engaged with what I'm doing now. And that's, I think, the biggest problem with YouTubers is that it seems like they are good guys, or it seems like they want to make good stuff, or at least for them it's good, but sometimes they just don't want to. Sometimes they just like, I make shit, or I cannot do better, I am so lazy, or I am going to be lazy, I don't want to care much, this is good enough. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff like that, and unfortunately, again, I don't know the answer. There is no way that I can say this is how I do it and this is how it's going to work. And nobody, I think, knows. Nobody knows how to make good content every time. It's just difficult. I mean, if I have to pick one YouTuber who is consistently good with his old videos, it's of course Ryan Higa. It's not a surprise. Smosh was good before, and now I think after the breakup and stuff, they're not, like, they're just getting repetitive. It's not funny anymore. It's not fun anymore for me. Ryan Higa, always fresh, always like light-hearted. I don't know how that guy makes videos like that. I mean, he makes like one video a week or something, or maybe 2 videos a week, but he makes them so good that you can just watch them as many times as you want. You're not going to regret, in a sense, like, oh, this is a bad video because it's bad than others. No, it's so difficult to compare his videos because, like, there are some videos I definitely don't like the Earth is flat video was like okay, but I mean he still uses his own charisma and fun part that he does, and I don't know, he makes really good videos. That's what I want to say. Others also make it. I mean, for perhaps someone else who's watching this video, for them, maybe Casey Neistat is doing better, or PewDiePie is doing better, or Smosh, or whoever, or Tyler Oakley, Superwoman. I don't know, anyone, or could be small YouTuber, could be my friend Super Stuff. I mean Super Stuff, sorry, Super Stuff TV. He makes like videos on cameras and gadgets and phones, mostly phones, but he makes them really good. Like, he definitely should have more subscribers. And if you go to his comments, there's like maybe 1% negativity in there. It's really good comment section, and a lot of people say that's a good quality video because he does put effort in his videos, I would say, or he tries to make as good as he can. So it's like, it's different. And back then it wasn't like that. The people didn't care back then. There was no effort back then. If you had a camera, you could have been the best YouTuber. No problem, you know. It was just, if you have a camera, just do whatever you want, and let's try to be as crazy or as funny or something outlandish on YouTube. That was YouTube back in 2007, 8. And starting from, I guess, Smosh and Ray William Johnson, I guess, and Ryan Higa, those three channels actually started different type of genres, and they helped YouTube to grow. And you know, when you can see successful people to become really good, you become motivated. Like, I can do this as well, and that's actually exactly what I actually did with my channel. I was like, okay, I can do this. I can try to do it. Maybe it's bad, maybe it's good, maybe I will find my niche, which I did. My niche has been found. And whenever I ask people, well, how can I improve? Most of the time I hear, you need to make reviews, you need to make more unboxings, or you need to make more content on Android. And I'm like, I don't like Android, guys, come on. And I understand people saying that because I guess they value my words, or they value my opinion, which is nice. But it's not what I want. It's like, it's not quite what I want. You actually have to remember some of the good words that Casey says. Forget about what people want you to make. Make you what you want to make. So if nobody watches, then there you go. That's a bad idea, I guess. You can try and try and try and try. Maybe one day people will start watching, but you have to make what you want. It's not like you have to adapt. Of course, you have to adapt to like system of YouTube, or adapt to algorithm and perhaps trends, depending on what channel you are. But like, if I take my own integrity and just put into the bin, or my own idea, say I was created to be Apple related channel, And sometimes I do make videos that are not Apple related, like Google Pixel and OnePlus 5. How are they Apple related? Well, I always find a way to connect them. For example, Google Pixel, it was like kind of an iPhones of the Android world, and OnePlus 5 was actually very close to iPhone 7 Plus, which is iPhone 7 Plus is like exactly, looks exactly the same as OnePlus 5. So I'm like, hey guys, we can just compare, because I'm an Apple channel. I'm interested to see why this company has decided to do that, and maybe we can compare. And people are now saying, okay, do the Galaxy S7, S8 review. And I'm like, okay, well, what if I do it, and there's a bunch of Android fans, they come to my channel, they just crap in the comments, and why should I even care? Because I'm not a Galaxy user. I mean, I've used Galaxy before, but I'm not a professional Android user. I'm not the guy who understands a lot of stuff on Android and how to make it fast or how to make it reliable, what to review. I can review basic stuff like speed, camera, performance, design, which is objective, battery and stuff like that. It's just like design, probably. I don't know. Did I say that already? Whatever. You know, it's like anyone can do it. But I am an Apple user. Of course, I'm gonna be biased. I'm already biased. Everyone is biased. You cannot be objective about design. How are you gonna be objective? You can be utilitarian, which you will say, is this a utility? Is this anyhow like? Does this anyhow improve my life? Does this design decision or feature improve my life in any sort of reasonable way? Then I can be that. I can try to be that. But like in that sense, iPhones will always lose, because I don't think iPhones have ever been designed to be good for you in a way that every way, basically. If you want to have a phone that is like good for you every way, you have to live in 2008, because back then there were some phones that were very good, very chunky, very reliable. Nokia's like N series were very reliable. N73, my phone, my personal favorite phone, pretty much of all Nokia's, was very reliable. It was a good smartphone, very fast. I remember putting Explore. It was an app called Explore on Symbian, which used to. It was like a root access, and people say, well, how can you like Android? You don't like Android when you had like the the first phone ever to have a root access on a smartphone, and I used it. It was so much fun for me, because Nokia always came up with reliable software. Their phones were one of the most reliable phones I've ever seen. There were no like major crashes. There were some problems with, of course, opening games, but .jar games. Do you remember those games? .jar. Hey, you guys remember that? Does anyone remember that games? The format. Nokia's were always been like the most reliable for me. The design was good. Like if you look at the design of 6300 or 6300 Nokia, one of the nicest phones, period. One of the nicest smartphone. No, well, cell phones. I still have it. It's my favorite phone. Pretty much, not favorite phone of all times, but pretty much for that year, definitely. And then Nokia, went into the shadows after the touch screen Nokias, Lumias, and all of that. The Windows Phone, it was horrible. I looked at Windows Phone and I looked at my iPhone back then when it was new. The Windows Phone was like top-notch new stuff, and I'm like, how can someone choose that over iPhone or over Samsung? I don't know how. People were lured using like, oh, this is a good brand because the brand, or Carl Zeiss Optics, or Nokia's. Well, I don't know. I guess the brand, the optics, was the only thing people bought it, or maybe just like, yeah, because you got used to Nokia's. Maybe that was also helping factor. But that was not good phone, to be honest. Nokia Lumias were bad phones. Nokia touchscreen phones were bad. I remember the C series, the E series, horrible. Like for some people, probably good, but for me, horrible. Because for me, I experienced iPhone. Why do I not like Android? Because to be honest, I used Android for the first time in 2000, maybe 11 or even 12. I was late into Android. I used HTC. I loved it. I loved HTC. The first, I think M8. Is that M8? A8? Yeah, the first, the nicest, with the boom sound. It was like so good. I remember it having such a nice speaker, such a fluent, awesome OS, and it was really fast back then, and it was nice. The skin was fine. I was like, why do you guys are so angry on not having like stock Android? Like so many people like, oh, I like stock Android and I only use stock Android. I'm like, why? Why do you like stock Android? Of course, then later I realized that it's faster in terms of optimization, updates and stuff. But it was good skin back then. HTC had really good skin. And of course, you would say, how about Samsung? Guys, I have used Samsung phone before Android. They were really good. My mom had a Samsung phone in, I mean, when I didn't have a phone back then. It was that old. We had one of the flip phones, bunch of cool games on it, really good games on it. I remember today, even the games, really fun. And they were very reliable. They worked for ages. They still work. They had big antennas on it, no cameras, of course, no storage of any sort. So it was a good phone, very reliable, and it was so loud. I remember it ringing in the morning as an alarm. It rocked all the house. Everyone was like awake, and I even remember sometimes neighbors were getting like, "Can you lower it?" I'm like, "We don't know how to change the voice, like the how to change the sound and how to lower the sound. We really didn't know how to do that. It was a bit of complications with Samsung, and of course Motorola was one of the best back then in terms of phones and um, designs. Oh my God, the Motorola V3i or Motorola Razr or Motorola uh, L6 and L7. Those were so slick, so futuristic. Like the buttons were so good. Uh, I think they were actually waterproof. If I'm not mistaken, there was one. It was waterproof, right? Yeah. And the Fly. There was another creator or not organization, a company called Fly. They made or VK, was it VK Fly? I don't know. I think it was Fly. It was really good. They made so thin phones, like thinner than you have, thinner than iPhone. They were very, very thin phones. Of course, they had very bad battery life, but they were so thin, really good. But of course, I always liked Nokia because of the status. Nokia was always a status phone. The fun phones were Samsung's, kind of fun. I mean, actually, no, Samsung's were not fun. The funnest phones were Sony Ericsson. K750 or K700, those are like the most famous phones ever in my school back then. If you had K750, you were like the god of phones in the classroom or in school because it was so difficult to get them. They were really good. And then back, of course, you got the newest Nokias, the Symbians, and they became bigger and bigger, the bulkier, the chunkier. I really started to hate Nokias back then. I remember, um, yeah, Nokia 76 N76 was horrible. 95 was actually, I still have 95, Nokia N95. It was a really good phone, really good camera, nice autofocus, front-facing camera. I think it was 1 megapixel or half megapixels. So good, still very good. Like in those terms, it was good. And then iPhone came up, of course. Big touchscreen. To be honest, I have used many touchscreen phones before. iPhone had it the best. iPhone touchscreen was the best touchscreen. I think today it is still the best touchscreen. You know, not the OLED or LCD type, but for touchscreen. The 10-point screen or 10 fingerprint or not fingerprint, 10-point touch, multi-touch and all the gestures. It was unseen. There was nothing like that. I showed picture. I was like trying to zoom on pictures. People were like, "Wow, how do you do that? It's so cool!" Like no phone was able to do that that smoothly. Uh, I don't know. It was a magic before when I showed to my friends. They're like, "Can I have your phone for 10 minutes?" I'm like, "I'm gonna charge you if you're gonna ask me that many times." But of course, I did not. I did not have iPhone 2G. I had since iPhone 3GS, so I even skipped 3G because I was tiny back then. I wasn't allowed to have a phone like that. It was very expensive. It wasn't cheap. So yeah, that was a really interesting area, and it all changed because iPhone changed, Android came, and I started to not use Android because it was laggy. iPhone was still all the time. It was faster, much more responsive. Still, I think it still does. I mean, Google Pixel and OnePlus 5, they come so close. They are so there. Like, I'm so eager to change my new phone not to be iPhone because they are getting there. Google Pixel 2, if they make it right, it's gonna be faster than an iPhone 8. I'm telling you. OnePlus 5 is not as fast. Like, animations are faster, but the phone itself is just like, it's okay. I don't like the huge screen and footprint, of course. I prefer the size of iPhone 7. Um, so if they just made that size OnePlus, I might be interested. But for now, iPhones are still king of responsiveness and just status. Back then it's like Nokia's, and now it's iPhones, and has been iPhone since 2008 and 9. So yeah, I'm still looking forward for the next big thing. Apple Watch did not really grab me. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for a nice design change for Apple Watch. I'm waiting for probably circular Apple Watch. I would definitely buy that and start training. iPads are fun, especially with latest designs and stuff. I like the 120 FPS screen, so cool. And yeah, and YouTube, of course, is not gonna go away, but it looks like that YouTube is evolving to something really weird. I don't know where it's going to go. Clickbait and all the frauds and ad apocalypse and stuff. It's just weird what's happening to YouTube. I don't know what's gonna happen after 2 years or 3 years. To be honest, 2 years ago, YouTube was a perfect place. It was a best place to start a career with AdSense being good, like ad percentages are being good. And now it's just like it's a deserted place. It's just a deserted place, and now it's just like bunch of people trying to crawling through apocalypse, or some of them are just coming into it or figuring out things, and I don't know what's gonna happen. I really don't know. So yeah, back then it was fun. Now it's kind of like, okay, you have to pick and choose what you watch, because back then it was like, let's watch everything. It was much more like uncontrolled back then. YouTube was like, you can see one video and then another video. It was like very pretty much same. It's just people making stuff. Like nothing, no companies were involved, no ads, no like major problems with transparencies and stuff, like conspiracy stuff, or weird. There were weird channels back then, but it was fine because YouTube was weird back then. You know. So that was pretty much it. Very, very long rant. Thank you very much for listening. And this is kind of a mixture of my past, of what happened to me with phones, about Android, and YouTube as a whole. And that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.